Are you serious? Are you serious, folks? Are we right out of the pages of the Bible? The water's turning red. The water's turning red like blood. The red tide in Florida, off the chain. The worst red tide in history off the coast of Florida. 3 million pounds of dead fish, dead pelicans, dead seabirds, seagulls, dead ducks, dead manatees, dead turtles. What? Starfish, baby dolphins, whales. Everything's dying in the sea. Toxic algae called a red tide. Water even blood red in some areas. Then we have to go to Oklahoma. Why? Because in the Verdigris, I think it's the Verdigris River in Oklahoma, 5,000 dead fish floating in that river. Nobody has a clue why that's happening. They think it could have been started in Kansas. What? We're not in Kansas anymore. Folks, we don't even know if we're on the planet anymore. We're seeing so much. And then earthquakes, and more earthquakes. 6.9 Indonesia, 8.2 deep earthquake in Fiji, followed by 6.3 deep quake in Fiji, followed by 6.8 deep earthquake in Fiji. These are so deep, yet so powerful that Dutch Sense is completely freaking out, and he should be. And he does a good job covering this. Something biblical is going on. Throw in another 6.3 in Indonesia. They're all over the place. They're everywhere. But what's going on? Well, we're going to be talking about that during our live broadcast today. The apocalyptic events taking place and what could be the cause. And you better stay awake, Yellowstone. You better stay awake, Yellowstone, because magma is moving. Energy is traveling at ungodly speeds because now the core, the center of the earth, the core, the magma, the core is moving and the plates are shifting. My mind is aching. The earth is quaking. The devil's back is breaking. What kind of medication are you taking? What? It's just unbelievable. Now, in Florida, here's what the scientists are saying. Scientists are saying, look, we got to do something. We can't let nature just run its course because this may be beyond nature. So scientists now have developed a cure, they believe, for this toxic red tide that has clogged the waterways, dampened the tourism, killed the marine life, and in 7 counties along the southwestern coast of Florida. A machine called the ozone treatment system, created by researchers in Sarasota, Florida, may be able to clear the harmful algae that has ravaged the Sunshine State since October, according to the CBS News reports. Matter of fact, processing roughly 300 gallons of water per minute, this machine can break down algae-infected water and injects it with ozone, a gas formed from oxygen by electrical discharges or ultraviolet light. Once the ozone is released, the machine pumps out newly cleaned water. The system gets rid of the red tide, gets rid of the toxins, gets rid of the excess organic matter that's decomposing, said Dr. Richard Pierce of the Moat Marine Laboratory, where the machine was developed. Scientists at the lab were previously using a machine to prevent red tide at their tanks in Sarasota, Florida, and in Sarasota County. But after a successful run of the system on a canal in Boca Grande, Florida, for a week, they believe the ozone treatment system can be used in other affected areas within the state. Testing in Boca Grande wrapped up on this past Friday. Researchers claim the lab results from the samples taken should be released within the next week. Meanwhile, the red tide continues and the fish keep dying. And the machine is going to arrive just a few days after Florida Governor Rick Scott issued a state of emergency for these 7 counties, including Charlotte, Collier, Hillsborough, Lee, Manatee, and Sarasota. And just, it's unbelievable, folks. These counties will receive government funding and state resources to help with the cleanup. The Moat Marine Laboratory, the Moat Marine Laboratory will, already received $100,000 for animal rescue, while Florida's tourism department has issued another $500,000 to help the counties promote visitorship in affected counties. More than 2.7 million pounds of dead fish, now it's over 3 million pounds, and sea animals were pulled from local beaches so far in August, almost as much as the dead stone crab that was plucked from the shores during the last red tide outbreak in southwest Florida. Over in the Panhandle, remember that back in 2015, according to the state's Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. So this is really getting ugly. It's out of control, and now they're trying to, but how can this one machine that sorts 300 gallons of water a minute, how's it going to sort that much ocean? You're talking, folks, millions and millions and hundreds of millions of gallons of water would have to be sorted, and I don't see that happening. Now, what they could end up doing is getting a contract from the government to have lots of these machines ready, so the next time there's a red tide, it's a 100-year-old red tide, or they even call this one the red tide of 1,000 years. I mean, but you know what I'm saying? What's the cause? What's the cause, guys? That's the question you got to start asking yourself. What is the cause? We're going to talk about it. Is it because it's the sign of the end times? Is it Revelation 16? I know we're not in the wrath of God. God ain't pouring out his wrath yet. But boy, we're starting to see a lot of precursors. Dead birds, dead fish, dead cows, Hosea chapter 4 and Revelation 16. A lot of folks say, Pastor, what do you mean by Hosea chapter 4? Well, the scripture tells you in the book of Hosea, because of the sin of mankind, literally the sin of mankind, then these animals, the fish and the birds and the cattle and everything, is just going to start dying like flies. They're going to it's unbelievable. And let me just read it for you for just 3 verses. In Hosea chapter 4, verse 1, 2, and 3, hear the word of the Lord, ye children of Israel. For the Lord has a controversy with the inhabitants of the land, because there's no truth, nor mercy, nor knowledge of God in the land. By swearing and lying and killing and stealing and committing adultery, they break out, and blood touches blood. Therefore shall the land mourn, and every one that dwelleth therein shall languish, with the beasts of the field, with the fowls of heaven, yea, and the fishes of the sea also shall be taken away. Prophecy, end times, dead birds, dead fish, dead cows, and the water's turning blood red and everything's dying. Are you serious? Are you saved? Don't miss tonight's live broadcast. Starts at 7 p.m. Eastern. That's 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube, as well as new live stream, Roku satellite television, also live at my website at paulbegleyprophecy.com and on the direct radio line. Are you serious?